Most people trying to save on a low income are skipping one step that costs them thousands every month, and they don't even know it's happening. I'm going to show you how to track your spending for 60 days so you can see exactly where the money is going. Because once you have it all laid out in front of you, the leaks become obvious fast. This isn't about cutting everything you enjoy. It's about giving every dollar a job so your cash flow runs like a small business. And that's exactly how you build a down payment when your income feels tight. Your bank balance won't show you any of that. Hi, Kane again. I went to theater school as a starving artist. 20 years later, through hard work, I own properties throughout Ontario. Watch my biography video to see how I struggled. This video is for educational purposes only. Read the references below in the description to see where I pulled this information from. If there are any discrepancies, please let me know. If you are about to invest, please speak to a licensed professional. Without further ado, let's get started. Tracking is what turns that invisible flow of money into something you can actually read. Your bank balance is just a number. It doesn't tell you that $40 disappeared across 8 separate convenience store stops, or that you're paying for 3 streaming services when you only watch one. So checking your balance and thinking you understand your cash flow is like checking the gas gauge and thinking you know where the car has been. A lot of people sit down once, write out their monthly bills, look at the numbers, think it's about right, and close the notebook. That snapshot feels like a budget, but it misses everything that shouldn't show up as a fixed bill. It misses the random purchases, the forgotten subscriptions that hit quarterly, and all the small transactions that feel like nothing in the moment but stack up to real money across 60 days of actual spending. $3 a day on coffee doesn't sound like a budget problem until you do the math and find it's over $1,000 a year sitting on one habit. 1 month of data can lie to you pretty easily. Some costs only show up every few months. Some are totally random, and some are so small per transaction that you scroll past them without thinking twice. Add them up across 2 months and you'll find $200 or more sitting in a category that genuinely can't explain. And that's not unusual. That's actually pretty common. So here's the actual process. Open up a spreadsheet like Google Sheets on your phone or on your laptop or computer, and every time money leaves your account, write down the amount, the category it belongs to, and whether it's a need or a want. You're not analyzing anything yet. You're just building a real record instead of relying on memory, because memory is where budgets go wrong. Most people remember the big purchases and forget the small ones entirely, which means the mental picture of spending is always missing that part that's quietly doing the most damage. The Financial Consumer Agency of Canada recommends tracking for 1 or 2 months before writing a budget, and they also offer a budget planner tool you can look up directly on their site to help structure what you find. The budget needs to come from real numbers, not what you think you spend on groceries or gas. Most people underestimate both of those by a lot. Around day 30, the picture starts to get uncomfortable. Subscriptions you signed up for and forgot about show up on the list. Small convenience purchases that add up to a real weekly number, and transportation costs run higher than expected because parking, gas, and the occasional rideshare don't feel like one category when you're spending them separately. Once you have it all listed together, the total is usually a surprise. After 60 days of transactions, you sort every line into needs or wants. Needs are housing, clothing, food, utilities, transportation to get to work, and medication. Everything else gets sorted into wants, and that sorting step is where most people pause because a lot of the things they've been treating as needs are actually wants and became habits over time. The wants column doesn't get cut automatically. It just gets funded last, after the necessity costs are already covered. 60 days of data tells you exactly how much money is left over, so you know what you're actually working with. And once you know that number, the next problem isn't tracking anymore. It's deciding what gets paid first when the money comes in. That order is what separates a cash flow system from a cash flow scramble. When money runs out, most people pay who's ever making the most noise, and that's exactly how someone ends up current on a Netflix subscription while they're 2 weeks late on rent. The notification from the streaming service felt urgent. The landlord hadn't texted them yet, so the money moved the wrong way. You've got 60 days of real spending data now, so you know what's actually going out every month, and that puts you in a position to build a payment order instead of just reacting. Without that order, every purchase, every paycheck turns into a series of small decisions made under pressure, and pressure is where cash flow mistakes happen fast. A late fee from a subscription feels exactly as urgent as a missed rent payment when they both show up as alerts on your phone, but they're not even close to the same thing. A late fee costs you $10 or $15, while a missed rent payment can cost you your housing. Treating both with the same level of urgency because they both feel pressing is a cash flow mistake that gets worse every month you repeat it. So the payment order goes like this. Mandatories run first: housing, food, utilities, transportation to get to work, and any medications you need. Housing and food sit at the top because missing either one doesn't just create a fee. It directly affects your quality of life and your credit file, and both of those are harder to repair than they are to protect. Make sure they are covered before anything else moves. After mandatories, you pay the minimums on any debts you're carrying because keeping those accounts current protects your credit score, and your credit score is going to matter a lot when you're ready to qualify for a mortgage. Lenders look at your payment history before almost anything else, so a string of one-time minimum payments, even small ones, build the kind of credit that gets you a mortgage application approved. If the budget feels too tight to cover everything in the right order, contact your creditors early and ask about adjusted payments timing before you miss anything, because most creditors will work with you if you reach out before the account goes late. Once mandatories and debt minimums are covered, you transfer money into separate savings accounts before you spend anything on once. It doesn't need to be a big number to start. $25 a week adds up to $1,300 a year. And that's a real emergency fund starting to take shape without any single transfer feeling like a sacrifice. The Financial Consumer Agency of Canada puts full emergency fund target at 3 to 6 months of living expenses, and on a low income, that number sounds impossible. But nobody hits it in one shot. You start small, you transfer consistently, and the balance grows because you never stop moving money in that direction. Anything after mandatories, debt minimums, and that savings transfers is yours to spend on once. And you can spend it without second guessing yourself because the required costs are already handled. When you run the same payment order every month, the decisions are already made before the paycheck even lands, and that's how you stop scrambling and start building something that actually stacks up over time. That system only works if you actually build it. You don't need a bigger paycheck to start running your money like a system. You need 60 days of honest data and a payment order you follow every month without skipping. Pull up your last 2 months of bank statements right now and sort every transaction into needs or wants, because that one step tells you more about your actual cash flow than any spreadsheet ever will. Set a calendar reminder to check your actual spending against your plan every month, because income changes and so do expenses. The people who qualify for mortgages on modest incomes didn't wait until they earned more. They built the early habit, kept their payment history clean, and had the savings deposits to prove it. Without that, the down payment never materializes and the mortgage application doesn't move forward. Once you have savings and a higher income as you advance in your career, then it may be the time to invest. Watch this next video on stocks versus real estate. Which one gives you more money? Thanks for watching.